Video games are seen as an escape from reality, but soon you may not even afford that luxury anymore. At least in America, everything is going up in price, and that includes video games and video game hardware. So what the heck is going on? And why is it happening now? And in this day and age, is it possible to save a buck or two? I am, of course, genuinely concerned after all. But if you like this video or any other video I've made, please like, subscribe, and share with all of your friends. And in the meantime, why don't you check out Off the Console? It's a brand new podcast created by me, Gardner Bryant, and Games Revealed, with guest stars occasionally. And while yes, it's on YouTube, it's also available wherever podcasts can be found, like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Check it out. There are three major reasons why video game prices and video game hardware prices are about to go up. Some of you may not want to hear this, but I'm not saying this just because I can. I'm saying it because it needs to be said. This needs to be discussed, especially in our hobby. The first major topic is, of course, the raising prices of video games and video game development. As you know, and as you may have heard over the years, video games are becoming more and more expensive to develop. But even over 30 years later, the prices of video games have never really risen. Games used to be $60, and now they're still $60, with some being $70. Video game prices never really followed inflation. Otherwise, that copy of Super Mario Bros. For the NES that goes for like $60 MSRP, that would be like $150 in today's money. This essentially means that games today are even cheaper than games were back in the day, technically speaking. This is offset naturally by the fact that there are far more gamers out there than there were back in the day. But of course, gamers have gotten used to paying $60 to $70 for their major AAA games, but many publishers want to raise the prices of video games, and it's no secret, they've discussed this many times. But there is one game that every single publisher is hoping succeeds. That being Grand Theft Auto 6. Now, as you remember, Grand Theft Auto 6 is highly anticipated, and the trailer for Grand Theft Auto 6 is the single most viewed video on YouTube that isn't like a song or a music video or whatever, and many analysts are hoping that Grand Theft Auto will be $100 at launch. $100 for a single game. And I know for a fact that many people will say that $100 for Grand Theft Auto 6 is a ripoff. Like, they'll never pay $100 for Grand Theft Auto 6 no matter how good the game is. And there certainly are people that will do that. But many people will pay $100 to play Grand Theft Auto 6, even if that's the cheapest price you can pay for Grand Theft Auto 6. Heck, I'm pretty sure many people will spring for a limited edition version of the game too. Barring something completely crazy, some extraneous force, or perhaps some sort of major controversy, Grand Theft Auto 6 is almost guaranteed to succeed. And $100 isn't so expensive that's going to make Grand Theft Auto 6 fail all of a sudden. No. I think the game is going to succeed, and then every other publisher and developer is going to see this as an opportunity to jack up the prices of their games. There are plenty of games out there that really don't justify their $60 price tag. Some people get really pissed off because you buy a game for $60 and it turns out to not be great. Imagine how much worse that would be if that game were $100 instead. And worse, some developers will feel like they need to raise the prices to $100, otherwise their game just looks worse than other games that are $100 instead. Like, you and I are smart consumers. We know that a game's price doesn't necessarily indicate their quality or level of polish or whatever, but many consumers aren't that smart. They see a $30 game and a $60 game, and they assume the $60 game is twice as good as the $30 game. And yes, this is true. I've seen this before. I've seen people just ignore indie games because indie games are cheaper, therefore they must be of a lower quality. I've seen this happen before. Many times, and it frustrates me. You know the whole adage, you get what you pay for? That doesn't necessarily apply to things that are creative works. Your expectations may be higher for a $60 video game, but at the same time though, it's not necessarily a linear relationship. You know, quality and price tag. All I can say is, for this initiative, this $100 video game initiative to fail, GTA 6 would have to fail, and that's nearly impossible at this point. In fact, it's not just video games being jacked up in prices, it's video game hardware. Now let's talk about Nvidia. As you know, Nvidia was once the most valuable company in the world thanks to AI. And when it comes to graphics cards for your gaming PCs, they're top dog. And that's a problem because they can continue to jack up the prices and not deliver much every generation. They're following the same path Intel was back when they were the dominant force in the CPU space. Nvidia is continuously jacking up the prices of graphics cards for little benefit, especially if you're trying to upgrade. Now, you don't necessarily have to upgrade every single generation, but when it comes to like $1,000 graphics card, like a 5080, I feel like it should be a little more substantial than a 4080 Super, right? I've seen benchmarks where there's a little improvement, 10% improvements, 5% improvement. Heck, I've even seen a benchmark where there's literally no improvements over a 4080 Super. And the worst part is Nvidia is screwing us over when it comes to VRAM once again. They've perfectly calibrated their cards to fit a certain pricing segment. But here's the thing though, it's always going to be bottlenecked with VRAM. A 5080 should be the second most powerful GPU, and yet it's being bottlenecked when you try to run games at high settings because of its 16 gigabytes of VRAM. And arguably the bigger issue was that AMD is just content with Nvidia jacking up the prices so that they too can jack up the prices while not getting called out for it. Like seriously. They think they can sell a graphics card that's not even like 75% as good as the Nvidia equivalent, but only be like $50 cheaper. I guess I'm just a little pissed off because I wanted to build a new computer this year. And Nvidia will take every opportunity to jack up the prices of their GPUs for little gain, for us at least. I think the issue here is that Nvidia is so concerned with making their GPUs not nearly as good as their enterprise cards. They don't want people to buy their gaming GPUs to use in enterprise purposes because it's just a lot cheaper than enterprise hardware, okay? And let's not even get started with Nvidia's promises of multi-frame generation. Seriously, they said that the 5070 would be as performant as the 4090 with AI. That makes no sense. And generating frames defeats the whole purpose of having a higher frame rate to begin with, because it doesn't reduce latency. And in some cases, it can make the latency even worse than just running your game at 30 FPS normally. Seriously, there may be some use for this technology, but I can tell you right now that using this to quote-unquote run games at a faster frame rate is not the play. And there's one more thing that threatens basically every American, and yes, this is going to be a little political. I'm talking about the tariffs, of course. On paper, tariffs exist for one purpose, to pump up American industries. The problem is that we've started signing off on tariffs that affect industries that America's not really built for, but arguably one of the most damaging tariffs of all, at least for our hobby, you know, computers and video games and technology and all that stuff, is a potential tariff to Taiwan, potentially up to 100%. And you know what Taiwan has? TSMC, one of the most valuable foundries for chips. Just about every major company, AMD, Nvidia, heck even Intel and Qualcomm use a TSMC. I'm not a politician, I'm not a political analyst, heck I'm not even an economic analyst, but I am almost certain if this tariff goes through, like even if it's not 100%, if it's like 25%, then you can expect prices of computer parts, cars, basically anything that uses a computerized system, like a computer chip or anything, is going to go up in price, and that doesn't even count like potentially stacking tariffs as well. Taxes. And yes, the burden is shouldered by the consumer. And most importantly, this will just give Nvidia another excuse to jack up the prices of their cards. Are you guys ready for a $3,000 RTX 6090? Because I'm not ready for one. And you know what? My wallet isn't ready either. And the worst part is, despite the fact that this is America issuing these tariffs, if Nvidia jacks up the prices because of tariffs, every other resident outside of the US, every other country suffers as well. Like if you're gonna raise the prices to accommodate for America's tariffs, why not just raise the prices overall and then you get to extract more money out of your stupid consumers, huh? I don't know, man. I think I'm just really pissed off that I have to spend a lot more money on my computer components. Like my PC, my good old reliable PC was built for like $1,500. I don't know if I could build a meaningful upgrade to my PC for $1,500. Maybe I'll just have to buy one of those Mac Minis for editing and then, I don't know, build a gaming PC later. If you like this video, please press the like button and check out our other videos. And if you like those other videos as well, be sure to press the subscribe button and share the good gospel of high-tech lowlife with your friends. Furthermore, we have a community Discord for enlightened individuals such as you. And if you wish to further support high-tech lowlife, be sure to check out our Patreon page. Links in the description.